Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. This is episode number 25. Episode 25. Hello. Hello, and welcome. I am joined, as always, by these lovely humans, my dear friends and fellow role players. One of you is not where you usually are. Andrew,
Which one?
that's a new background.
Who is not. I'm in a normal place. Nothing is different.
Nothing at all. Listen, you know how I can
do
tell.
not adjust your television sets.
Andrew, you know
Everything.
how I can tell that you're not streaming from your house?
How's that?
No pile of mattresses.
Bringing it back.
Yeah, going back to that's a old one.
Old
It's an
memes
old
for
meme
chat.
that checks out.
Super
Yeah.
old meme for chat. Yep, that one's for you, chat. No pile of mattresses. I recently received speaking of old memes from Roll20, I received in the mail some fan, I don't want to say fan, it wasn't art exactly, but a fan craft. Someone sent me a ribbon that says Best in Caves on it, along with a Keep on the Borderlands t-shirt, which I'm super
Nice.
excited about. So now we know. Kobolds are best in caves. They got the ribbon. We know. But then this
I thought
morning,
goblins were best in caves.
yeah, well, apparently not. Apparently the adventuring committee has decided that's not true. But then, as a rebuttal, my friend and excellent artist Tony Dowler this morning tweeted at me a picture of an orc flipping me the bird that said orcs are best in caves. So maybe it's all still up for debate. Maybe we'll never know.
Kobolds are best in caves, though.
I mean, I know where my vote goes.
I am personally a fan of kobolds as well. I have an affinity with the little rust-colored monsters. So.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So how's everybody doing? How's things? What's haps? What do you do? Well, you travel a lot. I travel as someone who goes places all the damn time. I feel like Andrew. I can honestly say you're like moving around a lot too.
I try to not stay in one place too long because it's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad for you.
It's bad.
Got that wandering hobo life. How
Like
you
Say that, and I'm like, I would like to stay in one place for a while.
Yeah.
how long are you away from home this time?
Yeah, I'm attending Conlorado,
Nice.
which is a small con being put on by Strosh and John LL, and it runs today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and then I go home on Monday. I'm still going to be making all the shows happen, but yeah, around the shows are like my afternoon slot at the con.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thank you for making time in your busy con schedule to come and hang out with us. I appreciate that. Because if you weren't here, you know that Agatha's plans would just get unraveled
All would go
while you were
around.
gone.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
you guys. Yeah, it's like the con is just starting in like an hour or two, I think. So
Mhm.
I'm not missing much.
Are you looking forward to playing anything in particular, or are you just going to be running Girl by Moonlight the whole time?
So I brought like version 6. I brought with me prior to its release. I'm gonna play it here, so I'm stoked to do that. And then who knows what I will get up to? Could be anything.
I very definitely remember early on in the development of award-winning tabletop role-playing game Dungeon World, just going to conventions, and that's all I did. I was just like, cool, games on demand. I'm just gonna run Dungeon World all
What the
day
hell
for
is that?
4 days because I need the playtesting and people
It
want
is
to play
both
it.
playtesting and marketing, and like it serves much purposes. So yeah, it behooves you to do it.
Hmm. Well, I
What
hope
is-
that
What is this world of dungeons we are stuck in?
Where did the word behooves come from?
That's a good question. Etymology of behooves.
It's a great word.
I was just thinking, I was like, why
It's
behooves
behooves you to
you?
look it up.
Based on an ancient Mesopotamian god who granted his most devout followers legs and hooves of a horse
Right,
to let
Gorthong the Behoover.
and spread his message.
Little known fact: the vacuum cleaner, also named after Gorthon, ancient deity of Sumeria.
Yeah, the
Hoover, right? It's named after him. He was the
Yeah.
god of cleanliness. No, it. Well, okay, it comes from the Old English behof, which means to advantage, or to profit, or to need. So it comes from Old English by way of Middle English. Yeah, and it just means it's your duty or responsibility to do something.
What?
It's like a
Hold on
requirement.
a gosh darn minute. I'm sorry. Does Middle English predate Old English?
I don't think so. From Middle English, behoven. From Old English, behufian. From Behof, cognate with Swedish behova and Dutch behoven.
This
I was
is
gonna
the
be
dork-
Thank you for those.
This is the dorkiest conversation we've ever had pre-game chat. Just hands down. I would say like the highest, followed shortly by a couple of other. But this is
There have been some
definitely the
choice
top.
dumb convos.
Yeah,
in
there
these
have been.
opening moments of these shows.
It's always the
I was just wondering, like,
It was an entirely reasonable question, Blue
Yeah.
Jay.
Role
Question is not the problem.
Role-playing games are full of horseshit words that no one would know except for playing role-playing games. Like celerity, or
It's true.
like, for example, atiliator. Who knows what an atiliator is? People who
Back to
play
core.
Burning Wheel know.
Yeah, it's a crossbow maker.
Yeah. Or why you pronounce it fort and not forte, because they're different words. Thanks, Luke, for using that word in that case. Yeah.
sorry, yep.
No, it's good. It's useful.
put
I
them
mean,
It is good.
there's all kinds of linguistic stuff in role playing games that both on purpose and by accident I think teach people. Like I learned so many words from playing Vampire the Masquerade that are just more pretentious words than you need to use. Like
Oh, yeah,
celerity,
totally.
right? Like you're not going to call a vampire power fastness. So I guess celerity stands in. But
Adam,
like,
I believe the appropriate term is quickitude.
I was about to say quickitude. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have what's the strength one? Whatever it is, they should have named it strength, quickitude,
Strength.
potency. That's the one.
Strength. Oh yeah, the 7 potencies.
Yeah, strength.
Potency lives on in Blades.
Yeah,
It's
alacrity.
a whole different thing.
Uh,
But also, guys, yeah, sorry, I gotta go. The con's starting now. I'm
Okay, we're
All
later.
right, bye.
That's fine.
I'm leaving. Yeah,
Except that fastness is the name for something else. A fastness is like a
Yeah.
castle, right?
it's a,
Yeah.
it's a hold fast.
The whole
Yeah, a
fast.
secure
Yeah.
refuge.
My mind went there as soon as you said fastness. I was like, no, that's some in this context.
Something else, yeah.
Shit.
Also, hilariously, so I am in Strash's house right now.
Mhm.
He has so much White Wolf stuff in this like big nerd library.
I feel that pain. I talk shit,
Yeah.
but like
It's wild.
so much White Wolf material. It's because they're storybooks and not games. Like any other company could tell you all you need to know in 1 or 2 books. Not White Wolf. White Wolf needs 28 books to do the same thing because they're storybooks. They're about keeping up with the meta plot, and
For
you
me,
need
it's
to
that.
fit all those words in, like alacrity.
For me, it's that, but Pathfinder.
Yeah.
We have like a billion Pathfinder.
Yeah, Pathfinder does the same thing, but with mechanics, with mechanisms.
Yeah, with mechanics, they just like it's new stuff or new content.
Well, I
or-
mean, from a more general, like we were talking about this a tiny bit before, from a more general and maybe more specific point, a couple of big Pathfinder news things for people who are interested in that game. Obviously, the Roll20 official support for Pathfinder rolled out this last week, so that's super cool. There's like all that stuff, and I get this feedback about Burning Wheel all the time, where people are like, "Burning Wheel seems really complicated." But like I made a character using the Roll20 character sheet, and I'm making the rolls, and it kind of lays all that stuff out for me. So it's maybe a step between the terror that I feel when I look at Pathfinder and then like the Pathfinder video game. Maybe Roll20 will help me feel less terrified of those things.
Because you want to talk about complicated games.
Yeah, right. I figure, I don't know, Dave, you know a lot more about Pathfinder than I do. Same with you, Elf.
Yeah.
Burning Wheel v Pathfinder in regards to complexity.
Pathfinder is much slower and crunchier.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But that's because it is exactly that kind of game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a duel of wits takes longer than a conversation in Pathfinder. I've never played Fight, but the systems are more... They're not more complicated. You just have to keep track of a lot more things. You have a lot more small numbers coming from a lot of different places, which you need a lot of different page references for.
Ever played Pathfinder with someone who wants to use all the source books and you only want to use the player's handbook? Because that's a fun time.
It's interesting. Saragon in chat, I think, hit the nail on the head with this one. Burning Wheel starts harder. Burning Wheel is like, yo, here's everything. Like, do it. But Burning Wheel never gets more complicated. You tag into systems that maybe you haven't used before, but once you use something once, it's not going to change or get more complicated. Session 30 is the same mechanical stuff as Section 1, but Pathfinder, and this is definitely the thing, Pathfinder feels like by the time you get to 20, you're playing a much larger game than you were at level 1. But you need to know that level 20 game when you start so you can aim for your... I can definitely see the appeal. It's not for me, but it's very cool that they're getting a second edition. This is something that's really neat. Pathfinder is a game that has always sort of chased a subset of fantasy fans, and it's really cool to see them doing a new thing, and I'm really curious to see how different it's going to be than first edition. What they ultimately think is the most important stuff about Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's the identity of it.
That's the jam. Because you can tell if you look at a role-playing game, the stuff that stays is the stuff that the company that makes it feels like is super important to the game, and everything else is like, well, this was part of it, but it's not important enough.
Stuff that they carried forward from their roots that they want to ditch. The parallel that comes to mind for me is like Diablo and Path of Exile.
Yes. Yeah.
Converge is like basically the same notion where they forked out.
Yeah,
there was one opinion about what was cool about Diablo 2 and another set of opinions about what was cool about Diablo 2, and they both have made these different things now, and they stand alone.
You and I have had this conversation, I think, before, Andrew, about Diablo and Path of Exile and Dungeons and Dragons, where Pathfinder is Path of Exile and exactly. Diablo 3 is 5th edition.
Stuff that the community liked about, and the game that came up out of the mechanics and then the way that they were played versus the way that it was designed to be, or what the intent was. It's like a difference between like facts on the ground and intent.
Well, and it's cool. It seems like they're taking Paizo is taking some clues not just from the mechanical stuff, but from the social stuff that revolves around their game. Like Pathfinder's art has always been really inclusive, and they've always made an effort in their adventures to include queer characters, trans characters, people of color in their material, and it looks just from a glance like second edition is starting to lean the mechanics that way, right? They're getting rid of like race as a concept and putting in ancestry, and it's interesting seeing them guide the mechanics that direction too.
Overhauling some of the kind of fundamental language and whatnot that the game built.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm definitely gonna be checking out the playtest doc. It's a cool time to be a Pathfinder fan. The Roll20 stuff's coming out at the end of March. Our collab with them, and then I guess they've released or will be releasing. I don't know what the timeline is for the 2E stuff, but they're doing that Fantasy Flight published beta thing, right, where they're like, you can buy the beta, you can buy a leather bound edition of the beta rules.
It really sounded like you said Dave released instead of they've released.
Dave is the new head of games at Paizo. Did I not mention that early? Congratulations, Dave.
No,
nice
congrats,
work.
Dave.
Yeah, much
You
deserved promotion.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. I love when companies announce new editions of stuff. I'm just like, yes, change your game. Throw things away, make new stuff, and I think for a game that has traditionally lived in D&D's, not its shadow, but certainly lived as a mirror to Dungeons and Dragons, the further they diverge, the better both games become. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot have both of them and not make a comparation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, they live in the same. They're grown
two sides
from the
of
same
one
soil.
conversation.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, doesn't make sense to not talk about them together.
Well, we often talk about Torchbearer and Dungeon World as being similar in that they were developed kind of alongside one another without any kind of cross-pollination, but Tor and Luke and them took one half of basic D&D, and Sage and I took the other half, and we made 2 games, and they're very much... there's lots of room for dungeon adventure fantasy stuff in the hobby.
It's not such a narrow band as all that.
Yeah. So... very cool. I'm excited about that. That's neat. It's neat when a game... I even love when games I don't like come out with new stuff, because then maybe I will like them. Maybe it's another chance to get in. So yeah, I feel like that's been the big news. I know, Elf, I wanted to ask you, you're on day one of a long and arduous nerd struggle that I think a lot of people will identify with. Would you like...
This cup is filled with water and I hate my life.
So So, Elf, we're here to support you in your struggle against caffeine and soda.
Is this the part where I say like, "Hi, I'm distracted elf"? Everybody goes, "Hi, elf."
Hi, Elf.
Listen, I'd be drinking this Diet Pepsi if I didn't already finish drinking it before the show.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm trying to, for those of you who are uninformed and don't follow my Twitter, by the way, you should.
yes.
I'm trying to quit soda. I drink way too much soda every day, and this is the first day of not doing that, and I already hate my life. So, hopefully that'll change in the next couple.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Train Spotting, but it'll get better.
I don't know if you've ever seen Train. Wow.
Thanks. Yeah, good.
Elf.
I don't know if you ever saw season 1 of Mr. Robot. But you'll be okay.
Yeah.
My question for you, Elf, is, of course, but didn't you hate your life before?
I mean, when have I not hated my life?
The only time I hate my life is when my coffee mug is empty. So,
Like Andrew, there's a scale though, right? Like there's a scale of like things that bring me joy, and I've removed soda, so that's
You know
never
what brings you joy is Burning Wheel.
I was about to
It's
say,
true.
thank you for that perfect segue. The only thing that brings me joy is this game. There's no joy anywhere else in my life. This is the only joy I want. So let's talk about joy. Let's get our beliefs, instincts, and traits squared away. Good luck, distracted elf, with your struggle.
Thank you.
We're here for you.
What we call a throw.
It's really bad because now it's been broadcast more places. I can't not do it.
Yeah, you have all these accountability buddies.
It's the worst. Okay.
I'm going to go to your house and open up your fridge and be like, what is that?
If you want to come to my house, I would be more than happy to have you. Okay.
Is it still snowing?
Yes.
Ooh.
All right.
Every time you get excited about snow, the rest of us are just like, oh, honey.
It's okay. Eventually, she will become jaded.
Yeah, you sweet California baby. You'll
right.
learn.
All right, I'm gonna do my thing now. I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Let's talk about Joy's beliefs, instincts, and traits.
All right. So my beliefs are: from my low station, I will figure out a way to make the king treat me like a human. I'm in the estate on Ekaterina's command. I'll find something to report back to her. And why did Soren come to my aid? I will speak to him and find out the truth. All of these sort of like got a little bit of a touch last game, but I didn't really
which is why you have
get
10 billion fate.
And then my instincts are: when anyone speaks of God, laugh, always keep an eye for no one can see it, and confront every boast with an ugly truth. That one gets me in trouble so much.
Yeah, it really does.
Traits are off-kilter, scapegoat, ashen, eldritch, bootlicker, numb, dreamer, lame, aura of innocence, keen taste, the fool, and cold-hearted.
Awesome. I think you're second place for most traits, right?
Maybe.
You're getting pretty. You got a fair amount. That's a lot.
Yeah, I do have a couple.
Cool. All right. Good. So your joy is continuing on course. No big changes from the beginning of last episode.
Yeah, no huge deviations.
Okay. Agatha. Let's talk about you. What you got? Beliefs, instincts, and a million traits.
So my beliefs are: I will weave a spell for Alessandra to aid her claim on the throne and free myself of this obligation. Survival is the only morality. The traditions and the people must survive this cursed winter. And a witch needs a coven. Serica can learn the old ways and perhaps be a friend. And then when Serica and Sufferance are alone with me, teach them something. Never put something back in the wrong place, and always speak truth to power. And my traits are always in the way, well-traveled, spooky, inscrutable, respectful women, lupine, vindictive, pragmatic, misunderstood, fey-blooded, blind, gifted, spirit familiar, essence of earth, unsteady, rat speak, fork-tongued Wolverine.
Bam.
I like the unsteady rat speak fork-tongued Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the name of my next Apocalypse World character.
Unsteady, forked-tongued Wolverine.
You could totally try and do that list to the same tune as the Pokemon rap. I just that list.
Good stuff.
Thanks, Dave.
Cool. All right. So, a cumulative of a lot of traits, but the beliefs and instincts, we established them end of last session, and I think you're good. Agatha's in an interesting position because she's sort of like landlocked, so to speak, in that you're in this one location, focused on the things that are happening there, and other characters are sort of going in and out of that space. They need to come in and sort of visit you, but you're also able to, I mean, potentially like slip away if need be. But right now, pretty comfy.
Yeah,
Down
I
in
could
the
turn into
suburbs.
a bird at any moment.
That's right.
If I wanted to.
Yeah.
Just turn into a bird. Get the fuck out of this
Yeah.
place.
Or a fork-tongued Wolverine.
I could, yes.
Cool. Meanwhile, at court, it's Alessandra. Alessandra,
It's me.
let's talk about your beliefs.
I believe that joy is dangerous and unreliable in real life. Just that's my
Yeah.
real life belief.
That is a good belief. What does your character believe?
My character believes that the character Joy is dangerous and unreliable, and I must find a way to keep her under my thumb. I have the witch Agatha at my disposal. I will talk to the king and find out how best to use her.
Mm-hmm. This
Robillard.
plan, the second one. Sorry, before you carry on, the second belief isn't. I will talk to the king and ask him.
No.
how
It's
best.
I intend to use Agatha to do something to the king, so I need to talk to him and figure out what the best thing to do to him is,
Okay. Yes.
other than sex.
Yes. Yeah. Because you don't
The
need
best
you don't
thing
need
aside
Agatha
from
for that.
sexing.
Yeah. Yeah. You've already got that under control. That's happening in the background.
I have that
Yeah.
under control. B6 or
It's
whatever.
literally
So-
your best skill. Yep.
Yep, I got it. My third one is Robillard in his quest for power must meet the king, but I will set the stage to my advantage. So basically, that's just like I know that Robillard's going to be like, I want to talk to the king guy, and I want to be there, and I don't want to be just like window dressing. I want to make sure that I have at least the appearance of control to Alessandra. She wants to at least feel like it's a situation that she's
Right. Yeah. You know
involved.
that you're beholden to Robillard because he convinced you that the best thing to do is introduce him to everybody and bring him to the court. But
Mhm.
you want to be able to have some leverage in that situation.
Yeah. My instincts are never allow anyone to treat me below my station, always redirect violence away from my person, and whenever I meet with a member of the court, recall a piece of gossip about them. My traits are your lordship, ambitious, well-dressed, independent, cosmopolitan, raven-haired, jealous, mark of privilege, rapier wit, and charming.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right. Lodwick, whose situation is being threatened somewhat. There's dangerous men about, and your bodyguard is injured. What is your belief, instinct, and trait situation?
Okay, cool. Beliefs. To prevent bloodshed, I will control the weapons market in Carpathia. I'll make a deal with or buy this target my researcher finds. I understand the suffering of the peasants and lowborn. I will work towards bettering their lives through creating safety and restoring order to the kingdom. And finally, I will deal with these kidnappers and show who hired them that I am not someone to be taken lightly.
Excellent. So for that
Oh, dude,
that
the
second
person
one,
being taken is your sister. They know this already.
yes, the sister is the person to be taken lightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that for that third belief, that's about you, like it's aspirational. You don't have a plan for not being taken lightly yet. This is going to be like fate this session, and then Persona once you know what you want to do, how you're going to use your not inconsiderable resources to punish them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you've already I owe you a couple of things, right? Like you paid Ekaterina to both protect your house. So you have some of her goons lurking in the shadows, keeping an eye on things. And then also she's going to deliver you some information about who kidnapped your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And I also need a target for acquisition for mercantilism in terms of who provides for the Green Cloaks.
Right, yeah, the Green Mantle Company.
Green Mantle Company, that was it.
Sure. Yeah. I was actually just looking. I was looking in my notes about if I had a name for that person yet, and I don't think that I do. I don't think we ever gave that person a name yet.
Which person?
The person that Tobor was going to like
Oh,
provide
yeah.
Lodovic
Okay.
with as a target.
I was gonna say like Green Mantle Company. There's that girl that I ran into who's like related to the king.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually start with a scene with her and kind of explain who she is, but let me come up with a name for your for this person. So and this is an important person in the city who provides. This is the sort of top person that provides like equipment, weapons to the Green Mantle Company. Yeah.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
that's what I paid for.
Okay. All right. So her name is going to be Ilka. And yeah, let's make her related. She's a noblewoman. Her name is Lady Ilka Strobila. And she is an arms merchant to the Green Mantles.
Yep.
And Strobila is a lesser house of Larix.
Okay.
And she's the same last name. She's the same house as Lady Strobila, Anna Maria Strobila, who is the person that you ran into, Joy, and we'll talk about her at the beginning.
Cool.
Okay. So there we go. Okay. And then your instincts. Sorry, we were still in the middle of doing that stuff.
Yeah. My instincts at the moment are never ignore an opportunity for profit, always have cash on hand, and always try to grease the wheels.
Cool. And your traits?
I am self-satisfied, idealistic, materialistic, stocky, forward, patronizing, affinity for business, and penny-wise.
Fantastic. Now, as a quick aside to anyone who is interested in or who is already GMing Burning Wheel, one thing that I have found helpful, especially now that we're doing the beliefs and stuff at the end of the session, between sessions, what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll look through all of my characters, all of everybody's beliefs, instincts, and traits, and I'll pick a couple of things, and I'll come up with, for the session, kind of like in Apocalypse World, I'll come up with a moves list, essentially, to show me some places that I could push on based on their specific beliefs, instincts, or traits, so that if in the moment I can't think of something to do, I can look at my little list of notes and say, okay, here are some places I can push. It's a really good way for me to prep for the session, because basically just knowing kind of what the characters are after and knowing where to push back on those, I find really helpful. It's just a little bit of invisible prep stuff that I thought would be worth mentioning, because I think that a lot of folks kind of struggle with that. They know that it's their job to push back against the beliefs and trigger the instincts and stuff, but yeah, that's what I usually do, is just I have a little list in my notebook of things I can do today to poke at my players to see if they're going to get what they want. So let's start with a scene in the court. I think that it's daytime, obviously, because that's when court is held. Everyone who would be present at court certainly can be. Alessandra, you are there with the king. The court and all of its miscellaneous kind of extras. The courtiers are there. Joy, you are present as well. I don't think that Soren is here, but Tabitha definitely is. Tabitha Volpe. As well, as we fade in on the scene, we're at the beginning of or sort of partway through some kind of appointment. We see the king, and he's wearing a slightly different outfit than he normally does. Now he's missing his royal regalia. So this is a stand-in that has been made for him. He doesn't have the ermine mantle. He doesn't have the golden crown and scepter. He's missing all of that stuff because it's locked away in Hell Castle right now. But he does have his sword, and he's in the middle of appointing someone to a position. Kneeling before him, one knee touching there's like a pillow by her knee, so she's gonna kneel in the stone. And she's wearing a also like a similar like a regalia. She's like green cloak that's been placed over her shoulders. We see the lady Anna Maria Strobila. She is a lesser cousin of the king. They share the same Carpathian stature. They're both tall, kind of severe looking. Anna Maria is younger, but not by much, I think, than the king, probably of an age. The king's father's brother's, second daughter or something. And she's kneeling, and the king is placing his sword on one shoulder and reciting a litany of official kind of by the power of the crown of Carpathia, by the sword granted to its king by heaven, and he's kind of going through this process. And when he gets to the good bit, he says, and by the power of the ministries of the kingdom of Carpathia, rise, Lady Anna Maria Strobila, minister of the forest territories. And she stands up, and he like sheaths the sword, and she turns and bows to the court, and everybody claps. And after that, sort of the period afterwards immediately becomes less formal. The king shakes her hand. A couple of other members of the court that are up on the pedestal like nod to her and like pat her on the shoulder. Someone takes the king's regalia, and things start to calm a little. But the Lady Strobila has been placed in a position that has, I guess, been empty since the freezing of the castle. She's been made minister to the forest territories. This is the person who is responsible for policing, taxing, and managing all of those citizens of Carpathia who live without the city walls. So the villagers, the people that live in the nearby forests, technically all of the like woods folk. But the further away from Carpathia you get, the less likely they are to. Yeah. And is technically the like duke, I guess, or duchess of. It's an interesting position because the castle and lands that you're given are technically like haunted and full of werewolves, supposedly, but it's a ceremonial position. It's like she now owns that castle.
It's got good stature, but it's not practically very helpful.
Yeah. Every once in a while, a duke, one of the minister of the territories, will try to go and like deal with that shit. But usually, it's more just like taxation, the kinds of things that the ministries attend to: taxation, civil management, that kind of thing. Yeah. So she's just recently been given this fairly significant position, and it looks like the king. This is the first appointment in the last like month or longer that y'all have been away from the castle. So this is the first of these appointments, and so the whispering among the crowd is that like, oh, this is good. This is the beginning of a change. We're gonna start seeing people be appointed, and there's a combination of excitement that things are gonna get back to normal, and also power thirst. Right? There's hunger for like, perhaps.
Could be me.
Perhaps I have the energy to take this role. But yeah, there's starting to be some like whispering among them, and we see Robillard approaching the new minister to speak with her. Robillard looks at you, Alessandra, right? Smiles and nods his head as he approaches. He sees the king. The king is not looking at him. He's not addressing him. He doesn't have to bow to him or anything. And he comes up to Lady Strobila and congratulates her, introduces himself, and they begin a conversation. So while all this is happening, I want to know what Alessandra and Joy are up to. What are the two of you doing during this?
The first thing I have to do is make fun of this person.
Yeah, you don't really have the crowd, but you can be working on material for once things calm back down, because there'll be a few minutes of like unstructured yammering time, and then the king will be like, all right, everybody, it's time to get back to courtly business.
I basically like moved to get in line to speak to her almost like behind Robillard. What I'm actually doing is listening to what he's saying to her, just in case there's anything that I want to hear about. But I'm setting up for like a gag, basically.
Okay. So you want to just like eavesdrop on the conversations that she's having?
I'm just gonna stand really close behind Robillard.
Okay. And are you trying to do this conspicuously or inconspicuously?
It's conspicuous.
Okay. So what do you get if you succeed?
I think what I want is that like he's awkward enough to like move on. You know what I mean? Like I'm making enough of a problem for him, like in this little social group, for him to just like shove off, basically.
Okay. Have you interacted with Robillard before?
Nope.
Okay. So all you know about this guy is like common knowledge and maybe by his reputation. Let me take a look.
Yeah, he's like an Angels guy.
Yeah. We'll see. Right. We'll see what you know. So you know for sure that he is a Corvidae, because he looks like one. He's a priest of some kind. And let me take.
I don't like priests, so that works for me.
Yeah. He's got a reputation among the angels. Yeah, he's affiliated with the church. Yeah, I don't think he doesn't have any reputation. I guess maybe the only reputation that you would know would be. Let's have you roll noble wise. I'll give you some bonus dice.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to see if there's something, because I mean, this is the kind of thing that Joy would want to know, right?
It's true.
You'd want to know something about him.
Let's open up a new skill. Noble wise.
Yep. It's based on perception.
Based on perception. Okay.
And
ready.
the ob in this case is 1, because just the more you get, the more you're going to know.
Sure.
Yeah, and for folks in chat who want to know why she can tell he's a Corvidae, he has black hair. He has the kind of like the carriage of a Corvidae. He acts like the other Corvidae do, and he wears the colors of House Corvidae.
Yeah. The colors are the important part.
Yes.
And Adam, in this case, are you counting his like reputations and affiliations as bonus dice for Joy?
Yes, absolutely. So take 2 dice for one of his reputations.
Okay.
And because he's like a significant factor, take 1 more die as just a general. He's a big man on campus.
All right. Based on 1, you said?
Yes, because as long as you'll know at least a little bit.
And there you are.
Wow. Okay, great. So, yes, you recognize this man. You know him by name without ever being introduced or hearing it. You recognize him. His name is Robillard Garrulus. He is a Corvidae. He has been in the city for about a year or so, maybe a little more. He arrived in town. You remember hearing about him first when he arrived in town for the conclave, the great conclave of bishops, which is unusual because technically he gave up his archbishopric, right? He used to be like the high religious leader of like basically the whole Corvidae capital city. That was his parish, but he gave that up and was gone like for 10 years. He just kind of like disappeared into the libraries and monasteries. He was like a traveling monk essentially. But then he returned with some supposed secret knowledge. You know that almost no one believes that it was a humble choice, right? That it wasn't like a calling from God. He's super ambitious, but he's also a weirdo. Yeah. So this guy, he does the like humble scholar well, but you know that his reputation and that what everybody knows about him is that if he's around, he's got plans. He's a man with he's got many puppet strings to pull.
And so I think my move here, my conspicuous move, is to like be far too close to him for this conversation that he's having with I have Anna Maria.
Yep.
And just go like, I think I hear the angels calling, you know, like, or what have you, like something snippy about his religious affiliations currently.
Okay. Now, if your goal is just to get him to move on, like to interrupt their conversation, I think it's going to be pretty tricky because he's not a person easily swayed to just.
And that's fine. If I fail, my plan is just to wait. But
yeah. Okay, so I'll just pit you against his will.
Sure.
So
Another 6 or 8 or
it's
11.
pretty high. Yeah, his will is 6.
Everybody's will is 6.
Just as stubborn as his knees.
Yep. And if you if you succeed, he'll politely excuse himself. And if you fail, he'll turn his attention on you, right? It'll be like you're making not a scene, but you're making yourself obvious to him, and he'll want to pay attention to you, and he'll have something to say.
Either way works for me.
Yeah, sure. And that's what you want, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna fork in falsehood because I do not hear the angels calling. And I'm gonna fork in nothing else because I have nothing else, so it's fine. I'm gonna roll my 3 dice against 6 will and lose.
Hey, you got lots of fate.
Everybody has 6 will, and there we go. 2.
Okay. You did get a 6 if you'd like to
There
spend.
is a 6 in there, but just to spite you, I'm not going to use it. But my conspicuousness does go up.
Oh,
so
good.
That's nice.
All right. So you say, sorry, give me the line.
I think I hear the angels calling for you.
And there's a pause as you just rudely interrupted. They're in the middle of a conversation. And the two of them both like turn to see you. And Robillard says, he turns it and looks and he says, I did not know the king had both jester and oracle in one. Tell me, in what ways are the angels summoning my attention?
You're right. I am a very talented individual, I say, taking the compliment. And then I say, well, it's all very subtle, isn't it? Signs all over. I'm sure if you look around, you'll be able to see some. I'm sure you see them everywhere you go.
The heavenly choir guides all things, the actions of men, the movement of beasts, the very winds of the sky. I could spend all day searching for their messages in them, but I've better things to do.
Oh,
Don't you?
Oh, I can feel the strings moving me now like a puppet. The angel's guiding me. Look at that. Amazing.
And lady, the minister looks at you like, what a piece of shit. Like, who is this asshole? She is not for this. And Robillard also just kind of like, he doesn't take the bait. He just kind of sighs. And he says, can either the minister or myself help you with something, fool?
I just wanted to congratulate her nobleness. I'm not sure of exactly the title of what you get when you own empty forests full of savages who will kill you if you go there. But, great empty castle. Nice, useless lands. I hope they work well for you.
She sneers at you, and she says, the lands outside the castle are hardly empty, and the people that dwell there are citizens of Carpathia, like everyone, well, mostly everyone else in the room, and should be afforded respect, especially by people like you.
Well, maybe I'm in the wrong then.
And they both look at you like, did you want anything else, or were you going to fuck off?
A pleasure to meet you both. Well, maybe not so much you. I say, pointing at Anna Maria, because we've already had a bad conversation.
Yeah, she already is like,
well,
not
maybe not so much you, but you seem all right. And then I leave, like my opinion means something.
Yeah. And I think do you want to just walk away, or do you want to like linger nearby and keep eavesdropping?
I mean, I want to try and still listen to what they're going to say to each other, because this is like a slimy powerful guy talking to a newly powerful person. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be some exchanging of something valuable.
Yeah,
So,
totally. She's just become a rung, and he is here to climb. So,
yeah.
yeah. Why don't you make an inconspicuous test this time?
Alrighty then.
And I don't think this should be too difficult for you. I mean, you stand out by nature, but the room is crowded. And there's lots going on for now.
And I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Can I give Joy advantage on her inconspicuous roll by like at that time like coming up to the conversation
I'm sorry,
and like
you have to be 30 feet away from her or closer. So if you want to use the move action to get here and then take the court action next turn you could give Joy advantage.
An advantage die.
wow.
Yes. I'm just teasing you. I mean, yeah, like, do you want to help? And if so, with what skill?
Let me see. Can I help with a skill that I haven't opened all the way yet?
No, you help skills with skills, stats with stats. You can
So I
also
have-
help stats with skills, I think, but I love how of all the rules in the game, one of the most common and yet one of the ones we never use is help. Like I've totally lost how that ability works because no one ever does it.
So
Well-
with help, you need to have a relevant skill,
Yeah.
and then it
So I have to have opened the skill already is my question.
has to be opened. Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be the same skill. It can be,
No.
and often is.
You're basically providing a fork for them. Is often the way to think about it.
Like you can help inconspicuous with conspicuous, right?
Haven't opened conspicuous yet. That was my go-to about it, but I hadn't yet opened it. I guess maybe help with like etiquette. Because like fictionally, what I was thinking was that like Elisandra had been with the like other advisors of the court, like not necessarily like exactly standing in position of the queen, because I don't think that the king would like allow that or whatever, but definitely like trying to like wiggle her way in around there.
Yeah, etiquette. The skill is the knowledge of etiquette rather than the practice of it. Yeah, I think you would need to do something like more like aggressive to help Joy in this case, like to walk up and like interrupt or.
Well, the fictionally what my intention was, like I had been watching the thing and then like come up after Joy leaves and like, yes, actually be there, but I don't have conspicuous or like a skill that is like interfering.
Yeah, the other way that you can help without actually using the helping rules is to create an advantageous situation. So if narratively you're just like being distracting in a clear and obvious way, then I could see that giving Joy a bonus die. But in that case, Joy's eavesdropping on the conversation between you, Robillard, and the minister.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not gonna hear what they're saying to each other if you're involved in the conversation, right?
Like I guess, but yeah, that was the intention, was to come up to the conversation and like
All right.
be there.
Well, why don't we give Joy an opportunity to hear a sentence or two with a roll,
Okay.
and then and so Joy, if you fail this inconspicuous test, then they just won't say anything of value. They'll know that you're still lurking around, and it'll just be like they'll look at each other like, she's still behind me, isn't she? Okay, let's just be pleasant, and we'll have a meeting later where there's no Stygian assholes lurking around. But I don't think it's going to be too hard for you to slip away. So in this case, let's see, inconspicuous. I think it's going to be like ob 2 probably. Let me do a quick check though. Here we go. Yeah, tested against observation. Okay, yeah, right. So I rolled. It's not a specific ob. Okay, but I'll give you advantage. I'll give you I'll give them a plus. I'll give them a +1 to their ob to detect you because the room is crowded and yeah. Okay.
So do you want to roll
I'll
first?
roll first because that'll give you your stat. So let's see. Does Robillard have? Almost no one has observation. Like it's stealthy is more often successful simply because people are just not trained to spot stuff that's hidden. So it's going to be a perception check from Garrulus. He's real good at it, but It's not gonna help. Okay, so modifiers.
His successes are cut in half here, right?
Yeah, he's got help from her because if she looks over his shoulder, it's like Ixnay, like she's still lurking. Base ob is gonna be what did I say? +1, so he has to overcome that first. So it becomes 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So ignoring the first 2, he's got 2 successes, which puts your obstacle at 2.
Okay. Let's see if I can do it then.
I mean, also, Adam, you're a horrible monster. You rolled 6 successes on 8 dice.
That's true. Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Let's see if I can roll 2 successes on 3 dice. Okay, that's the real question.
You
now,
only
if
failed
you have
twice.
if you have forks or advantage,
I have nothing that can fork into inconspicuous unless I had already narratively positioned myself to be disguised.
right.
Or I had stealth actually unlocked. It might matter, but I have nothing.
Yeah.
Or if I could sleight of hand myself into inconspicuousness.
I pick someone's pocket and drop off me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I pick someone's pocket and then slip into it.
No, I fail. Of course I do.
Okay, so Alessandra notices the conversation get awkward after Joy shows up, right? Like they're talking, and then Joy comes up and says something, and then they both just kind of are like, God, now we can't really talk comfortably. And at the very least, Joy, you've accomplished making them both uncomfortable.
Sweet.
And so I think Robillard says to the minister, he says, well, congratulations on your appointment, Minister. We must speak again soon. I have the advantage of being installed here at court on my niece's good favor. And he looks at you, and Alessandra, you're like, I guess, walking up on this. This is a great opportunity for you to
Perfect timing. Yeah.
Okay. So he looks to you. You see this like awkward conversation. He turns to you as you are walking up.
Yes. I see you have met my uncle, but I have not had the opportunity to officially make your acquaintance, Lady Anna Maria.
And she bows, and she says, my lady, it is my pleasure. You've done so much for the court. We all owe you a great debt.
It is nothing.
Oh, I disagree. If it were not for your hospitality, there would be no place for us to hold courtly business, no opportunities to regain control of our kingdom. I fear we would be more lost than anyone realizes without your help.
Well, I certainly appreciate that my efforts have helped to keep this kingdom I so love. What's the word? Like it's something like not like running, but like keep the in motion, or like just like keep it going. I don't know, a fancy word.
Okay.
I only have 1 cup of coffee, so give me just like a cup, like an hour, I'll be fine.
All right.
But yeah, she's making small talk. And I think that she glances in whatever direction Joy is trying to be inconspicuous in, and says, I must apologize for the interruption. The king finds her antics invaluable, and so we welcome her here. But sometimes, and then she lets it trail.
Yeah, I think the minister says, my branch of the family has never had the stomach for people like that around. I suppose that they fulfill a purpose, but she sighs. Life is hard enough without someone prodding at your open wounds. And Robillard says, it's interesting the way that this works in the Corvidae lands, and he kind of goes into where we're from. This is how fools are.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not super interested in it, but he keeps it short. And the minister nods. This is a very polite conversation, kind of about nothing. The minister nods, And she says, "Well, I certainly don't begrudge the king a little bit of humor now and then, even if it comes at the expense of us lesser nobles."
Not quite so lesser now. I know that your new appointment must come with many tasks and responsibilities, but I hope that you will make time soon to perhaps become better acquainted. And like she's basically saying like, yo, we should have a talk later, the same way that Robillard was, but
She smiles politely, inclines her head slightly, and says to you, "If you will forgive my bluntness, Lady Alessandra, I have much work ahead of me and very little time for niceties such as biscuits and nettle tea. I've work to do, and I intend on taking some men and heading out into the villages as soon as possible."
to what end? You must excuse me as my usual conversation rotates more around biscuits and nettle tea.
She smiles.
She's basically like going like, yeah, thanks for the slight.
Yeah. Robillard isn't saying anything. He's just like watching the two of you talk. And she says, "I'm sorry, Lady Alessandra. Matters of national importance. I'm sure if you ask the king, he'll tell you all about it. Now, Corvidae, if you'll excuse me," like to both of you. And she bows again, and your uncle like returns the bow.
I make the very least inclination of my head as to not be seen as like
Rude.
horribly impolite. But
She outranks you too. Oof. So rude.
Not for long.
So, I mean, so she turns to leave, and Robillard looks at you. Let me look at his. I think he has etiquette. I want to know if he noticed you being rude to her.
She was being rude to me.
It doesn't matter. This is her party, not yours.
Every party is my party. It's in my house.
Yeah, sure. Let me see here.
I'm gonna make sure she has the cheap wine. I don't fucking care.
Let's see. Etiquette?
Alessandra
Oh, he sure does. Okay.
Itching powder in her bed.
So he turns to you once she's out of earshot and says, "Well, that wasn't very polite. Do you have something against the minister?"
I am all too accustomed to my station and my responsibilities being disparate here. I do much more than perhaps I ought to be doing, but it is merely frustration to be waylaid as someone whose only responsibilities are to have biscuits and tea. It was impolite of me. I should know better.
He puts his hand on your wrist gently, and he says, "As the choir of angels served our Lord God, so too do we serve the King in our ways. Just because the minister is unable to see the ways in which you serve, your liege, does not mean that they go unnoticed by all." Pointed look.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't established if Alessandra knows if he knows what's up, but there's a moment there where you feel your heart like not beat and then start again.
Wait. So he was referring to me serving him in bed as like a valuable thing, or
I mean, that's why you go like, squeeze me? Like there's a moment.
No, like I'm as a player asking like,
I'm as a GM.
That is,
I'm telling you,
that...
you don't know. I'm telling you that, yeah, you have that moment of fear because that sounds to you like what he's getting at.
Oh, okay.
Or
But
maybe it doesn't.
also
I don't know. I'm leaving it
all the other
intentionally
stuff
vague.
you actually do.
Right. So like it could have just as well have been like you've housed the court and you're being like a valuable person to the king and everybody, or it could be like, yo, like you're valuable. Elbow.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
he's just very subtle about stuff. So that's all he says. He says like, don't worry about some people don't notice your contributions, but don't worry. They're seen. All is seen.
And she does the whole like question mark, like eyebrow crease look, and then she says, "Thank you, Uncle. It's not often that." Well, anyway, thank you. Perhaps we should. And she does the whole like make the rounds thing, like it's a party.
He looks past you at the king. When you look over at the king, can you make an observation test for me real quick?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, I'll give you.
I'm observational.
I'll give you your difficulty in just a second. I just gotta
Bella,
check some
can
of
you
these
not
characters
right now?
Okay.
Bella, go lay down.
I just want to check. Someone is being inconspicuous, and I want to see if you notice what they are doing inconspicuously.
Right.
And then forks. Let's see. We got 1.
Bella, stop.
We got 2. We got 3.
Dang.
Okay, 3 forks on this. That's okay. Their skill is low. All right, so 3 forks, and this will set the ob for you.
Okay, so ob 2.
Okay.
And then what kind of things can I fork into observation? Like wises or
I think wises if they're like relevant to the situation.
so maybe noble wise, maybe staff wise, maybe court wise. It's hard to know without knowing.
Exactly, without knowing. Let me take a look at what the skill suggests, and then I'll let you know.
Bella, you're really
Okay.
small right now.
Observation.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't
Yep.
use it that often.
It lists no forks for observation.
So wises would seem appropriate.
Wises are the fork.
Yeah, I think wises are pretty much your only jam
If
here.
one of them applies,
Court wise is appropriate.
Not staff wise or noble wise.
Noble wise too.
Okay. So 2 forks on ob 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll just see if I notice. I do.
Okay. All right. So you look over and you see the ending of a conversation between Tabitha and His Highness.
Mhm.
And as they're finishing the conversation, so he's taller than her. He's looking down at her. She seems to be saying something reassuring or like comforting to him. And she has her hand like on the inside of his arm. Like she's touching the inside of his arm with, and he has his like cloak off now. So his sleeves are like tied up around his elbows. So she's touching his like bare skin with her fingertips. And they're just talking and she's like nodding and the king smiles slightly. And then she turns back to like continue doing whatever it is she was doing.
I want her dead. The fuck you do? Why would you do this to me?
I'm not doing anything. You just saw.
I'm not doing anything.
right, it's a ob 3 wig snatching test.
I mean, do you want to make a steal test or?
That's not Stiegel, please.
I'm just saying.
I can't have that.
She's the one making the steel test at this point.
I can't
Steal
have
your
that.
man's
That's
test.
not. No, that's no. Why?
she's just touching his arm. It's fine.
That's
they're
not
old
something
friends.
that people do.
They're old friends. They've known each other forever.
No,
It's fine, everything's
no, Adam.
People
No.
they don't just touch arms, Adam. They don't just touch their bodies
So-
with their other bodies.
So
No.
while this is happening in this moment, I want to check on Joy. So Joy, what are you doing while this is happening? Everybody's like lingering around. I'll give Blue Jay a minute to recover.
That's a good question. So Tabitha's up by the king. I was gonna see if I could do something with her, but she's busy. I'm not gonna.
Mhm.
I'm gonna touch on that.
Why are you like this?
Did you say that like Robillard like moved off? Basically?
No, Robillard has stayed with his niece. They're still talking, and the minister has left to go do something else.
I follow her.
Okay, all right, sure. How far do you want to follow? Like out of the room if she leaves?
Yeah, enough that I can grab her in a conversation that isn't public. Basically.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. I mean, she's leaving the court. She's got stuff she's got to attend to. Now that she's been officially like given the seal of approval, she's a minister now, so she's going to do stuff. But yeah, you can jog out of the court and catch her in the hallway.
Yep, that's the plan.
Okay, yeah, set that up for me. So she's just walking. She's walking out. She's maybe met with it's her and like a servant, right? Because everybody around here has servents. So she's got her like
100%. She can hear me coming up behind her in the hallway because I've got like my bells on, you know.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where it's like I'm not in sort of the posture I was in public, you know. There's a lot less of that sort of theatricalness. So Joy
okay.
does sort of like naturally tend to that stuff. And I sort of come up to her while she's not facing me, I suppose, if she's like with a servant or what have you, and go, excuse me.
And she stops, turns to her servant, like she was in the middle of dictating something, and we see her, and you're behind her, and she like. She turns around to get a better like visual image of her. She has this sort of not imperious, but this like kind of icy demeanor. She's very businesslike. She has a fairly severe haircut, like just like a bob with like.
Why am I
straight
imagining
bangs.
like Carrie Ann Moss?
Yes. Yeah. No. Yes. That's exactly. Yeah. And like not Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix, but Carrie Ann Moss,
No,
like
but,
the
like, now.
lawyer from Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Yes. No. That's great. Yeah. Slightly darker skin, a little bit more like Slavic features, but yes, absolutely. That's perfect. Good casting. I'm gonna write that down. So yeah, she turns, and she says, "You again."
Me again. I was hoping we might talk briefly.
She makes a look of confusion.
You understand the things that I do in court are what I am told to do, the things that are expected of me. These things are degrading to everyone. I don't want necessarily to offend you. In fact, I was hoping that we might work together on something.
She's hovering in the space between like intrigued and distrust. You've seen this look on the face of every single person you've ever tried to be earnest with, right?
Oh,
that like,
of
are
course.
you just gonna fucking
Are you
pants me?
fucking with me?
Yeah. What, I'm gonna end up in a place where this is embarrassing because I believed you. Didn't Soren? I think Soren just like accused you of this, like the reason no one trusts you, right? Like that came up before.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you have a feeling like, oh God, here we go. Got to get over that. Got to get over that barrier. Let's have you make a persuade test.
Sure.
And the obstacle, because you're not lying, right? You're not actually trying to fuck with her, right?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So the obstacle then will be her will. I think her will it's not like huge, honestly. Like she's bossy, but she's smart, not willful so much. Let's just call it 3.
Okay.
Which I'll make a note so that later when I burn her up as a character, I'll try to aim for will 3. Yeah, so will 3 for her.
Do I have anything I can fork into persuade here? No. I mean, ugly truth if I can get an ugly truth out of it, but I don't really think I can.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's just throw the dice then, huh?
Okay, sure.
Do I need a routine persuade? Yes, I do. Good. You said 3?
3, yes, please.
Hey!
Nice. Whoa, 3 6s.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's
would
been
you-
fate.
Yeah, do you want to spend your fate?
Why?
Because it
succeeded.
so like yes, you've already succeeded, but spending fate gives you the opportunity for Aristea later, right? That's how you shade shift
You mean the
stuff.
thing none of us will ever have because
You only
the
need what, like one
deed points
deeds
are
point, I
insane?
think.
Yeah, if anyone ever gets a deed
But
point,
that's for temporarily shade
Right,
shift.
that's true. Yeah, but like that's part of what spending fate is. Like actively choosing not to use it
All right, fine. I'll spend my
just means
fate.
you have a big pile of unspent fate.
Just because you nerds want me to spend it, I guess. I don't really care. There's another one.
Okay.
There you go. Spend some.
You got
fate.
rid of all those
That's
ones.
helpful,
See?
you know?
Angry
Rolling
rage
double
dice.
I don't fucking care.
You got rid of so many ones, so you won't roll ones for this.
Actually. All right, so she looks at you and you can see her like weighing and balancing like the risk and reward, and you're starting to get a feel for this woman, right? Like she's very she's not driven by passion. She's driven by making decisions and balancing the risk. And she's like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? Joy makes me look like an idiot. I could probably have her killed or arrested or something like that. I'm the king's like distant cousin. He'll listen to me. But also like maybe the fool knows a thing or two and I'm new to the court. I'm just getting started. Maybe having this person as my friend would save me embarrassment later.
And while I can see this all sort of mulling over in her head, I go, look, here's the thing, right? I might not have been here recently, but I've been here a lot longer than you. And I know things and people and could help you. It's distinctly possible. You want enemies embarrassed? Oh, I'm very good at that. You know, you need a door listened to late at night. Nobody would appreciate the skulking. I'm quite good at that too. You know, these kinds of things. And what I say to follow it up is there's this pause, and she sort of, you know, like waits to see if Anna Maria will say anything, and then continues and says, I just want to be a person again.
And she kind of like raises her eyebrow at that, and she says, "It would be foolish of me to think that everything at court operated as straightforwardly as I would like it to. We all have jobs to do, but these courtiers, it's all whispering and rumor and rhetoric. I have a mandate before me as Minister of the Forest Territories. I have cleaning up to do. I have a kingdom to help preserve. And I wish that I could see no use for someone of your skills. Joy, was it? That can't be your name.
No, not my name, but as good as around here.
But you
my
have
actual-
a proper name, don't you?
I do. And I extend an inky hand, you know, in proper greeting, basically.
Yeah.
And say, Tahira Nazari.
She takes your hand. She gives you a firm handshake, and she says, "Let us hope that it is my pleasure, Tahira Nazari. I am the Minister of the Forest Territories." And she grins, and, like, shakes your hand.
That's what I've heard, yes.
And she says, "And I'm a very busy woman, so I don't have time to stay and talk now, but I'll be back in court tomorrow. Perhaps I can find some time to be entertained by you then.
I'm sure we can figure something out.
Until then, keep your ears open for me."
Oh, I always do.
And and then she and her servant turn to go.
I let her go and turn back to court, you know, head back inside.
Yeah.
To make fun of some noble as is my wont.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you return to court to see, and I think that as you're returning to court, like Alessandra, unless you were ready, like you wanted to just like jump on an opportunity, I feel like that's the king finishes his conversation with Tabitha and then turns back and is like, all right, everyone, sit down, get your shit together. I have people to talk to. And he looks at you like, come on back up here, have a seat, we got court to attend.
Yeah, okay.
So Joy, when you return, things are getting back to normal, and you scamper up to the stairs, up onto the little dais, and have a seat, ready to make fun of the next person who has something to whine about to the king.
Oh yes, very well prepared.
All right, cool. So let's grab a break there, and when we get back, I have some mail for Lodwick that we will take a look at. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.